Welcome to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere, Inc., a company based in Florida. Hosted by Michael John Sullivan, this is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Now, here is Michael John Sullivan.
Welcome to Magical Books for Kids. I'm Michael John Sullivan, and thank you again for joining us for another free edition of this podcast, which is updated every Wednesday. And it is free on all platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, as well as our website, magiceverywhereinc.com. We're pleased and honored to have children's author Art Ginolfi. He is a professional sales executive in the business travel industry. On December 10th, 1983, Art woke up at 1 a.m., turned on a light, grabbed a pen, a legal pad, sat down, and began to write The Tiny Star. The words and illustrations flowed onto the paper. At 2:15 a.m., the story was finished. Little did he know that this story would become such a big part of his life. Art believes he was inspired to write this story and that it is destined to shine year after year at Christmas time. Art, thank you so much for joining us here on Magical Books for Kids. I love the idea that you woke up at that early hour and began to write. So congratulations. That's a writer right there.
Yeah, actually, I don't really write kids books. I consider myself more of a musical person with songwriting. So I've been writing music all my life and writing songs. But I will tell you this. I was watching the Charlie Brown Christmas special, as many people do during the holidays, and the last scene of that is the star go. They're singing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," and it fades up to a star, and it's like, what is the story about the Star of Bethlehem? I do remember no one's really told me that story. And as a child, I do remember looking up on Christmas Eve during the holidays and saying, where's the Star of Bethlehem? What's the story? So I've always been inquisitive of it. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, I just got this idea. I don't know where it came from, but the words just kind of flowed onto the paper and illustrations, and it was done within an hour and a half max. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, what child doesn't look up at the sky, especially when you're very young and you have that innocence about you, and you're looking and you do look up at the sky. I still do at this point. At one time, it to me it's just a very interesting story regarding, especially around Christmas time. So I try to keep.
I guess the age-old question is what is the Star of Bethlehem? It's a mystery. Nobody really knows what happened. And I'm not proclaiming that I know, but this is the story that came to me. I've written The Tiny Snowflake. I've written other books. It takes me months to write a book. This one came out with no editor, no influence, and the illustrations were right there. The text really hasn't changed. It was like, wow, okay, so that was pretty interesting. My wife woke up the next morning and she read it. She goes, wow, this is really good. You need to copyright it.
I was going to say in 1983, so that's what 17 plus 21 is 38 years ago that you had this inspiration and you wrote this, and this book has lasted this long, obviously because of its wonderful Christmas message. And children's authors do come from all different backgrounds. You come from, it appears to be a professional sales executive. As a child, did you read a lot? If you did, what were the type of books you read? I was a sports fanatic, so I always read every sports book I could get my hands on. What about you? Anything?
You asked me what my favorite childhood book was. I mean, I think the ones that come to mind was Little Engine That Could type of thing. I do see The Tiny Star as a Little Engine That Could type of book. So, it's inspirational. It's motivational. I know as a young adult, I started getting into Tony Robbins, a lot of it, Zig Ziglar. Being a sales professional, I was getting my sales training and my motivational stuff from all the leading motivational speakers at the time. Tony Robbins being number one, and Zig Ziglar, guys like that. But a whole bunch of them. I mean, Brian Tracy. The list is long. So I like that type of book. I mean, my favorite thing to read about is successful people, biographies or autobiographies.
Is there a particular one that you've read recently that has given you a bit of inspiration?
Nothing recently. I mean, one of the Heart of Business is a #1 best-selling book. Heart of Business just came out this year, and it's really about getting people to do the best they can and work together as a team. Nothing new. Many best-selling books are kind of like reiterations with a slant. This is about the guy from Best Buy, the president and CEO of Best Buy, who turned the company around and made it successful. It could have failed like Circuit City and many other companies. But through partnership and building alliances and giving employees the freedom and the listening to your people, all the stuff that everybody knows, it's all common sense stuff, but you just need to hear it. It's called inspirational. So, and I think the Tiny Star, it has 12 big messages. I think the Tiny Snowflake has 12 big. I didn't think of these big messages as I wrote the books. I see them after I write the books. And, oh, well, this is what that means. So, but the 12 big messages are, I think, important. I think the publisher will be putting them in. My first publisher, I was in New York City, going back to when I wrote the book. I did come up with illustrations and put together a mock-up book, and I sent it out to probably 50, 60, maybe 70 publishers, and got the typical rejection letters. And that was in like 84, 85, 86. And then, 87, I don't know what I did. And then in 88, I was in a business trip to New York City for the first time. It was my first trip to New York City as a salesperson. And I had 2 meetings, and one was at 10:30. And then I came out of that meeting, and I saw Western Publishing and Macmillan Publishing in the corners across the street. I said, and keep in mind, this is before September 11th, so you could just walk into a building and nobody would really stop you. I walked into the garden. I said, hey, I wrote a Christmas story about the Star of Bethlehem. Everybody thinks it's really cute, and I should try to get it published. He goes, we'll go up to the 9th floor. It's our children's book division. So I went up to the 9th floor. It's 12:30 lunchtime. So the receptionist was out, but I heard people talking in the back. So I just kind of wandered back into the office, and the guy popped his head out of the door. He goes, hey, you look lost. Can I help you? I said, yeah, I wrote a Christmas story about the Star of Bethlehem. Everybody thinks it's really cute, and I should try to get it published. And he goes, a Christmas story about the Star of Bethlehem? I said, yeah. He goes, come in my office, sit down, tell me your story. Told him the story. He goes, I love it. We're going to publish it. He hands me his card. He's the president of Macmillan's Children's Book Division, Checkerboard Press, Terry Savoy. He goes, this is never going to happen to you again. Do you have an agent? Do you have a manuscript? What can you send me? So I said, yeah, I've got a mock-up book. So I sent him the book, and he sent me a contract, and we sold 30,000 copies a year. The sad part about the story is Terry Savoy bet big on a character named Alf. I don't know if you remember Alf. Most people probably won't. Alf had his own sitcom TV show.
Yeah, I remember Alf, of course. Yes.
And I don't know, Alf didn't do so well. It was kind of like one of these one-hit wonder type things. And Alf bankrupted Checkerboard Press. I got the rights back in 84.
Oh, wow.
No, it's not. It was 94 and 95. And I had the book, so I was able to send the book out, and Word Inc. and Thomas Nelson liked it, 2 Christian publishers. And I had met a guy named Dan Johnson at a convention in 1989, and he goes, I love your story. I want to animate it someday. But he actually became the president of Thomas Nelson. So when I got to the convention, I said, who do I need to talk to? I got a letter from Thomas Nelson. I have a letter from Word Inc. saying they're interested in publishing the book. And lo and behold, at the convention, as they do at conventions frequently, they made a big announcement that Word Inc. was acquired by Thomas Nelson. So I had one shot to get this book published. And fortunately for me, I said, who do I need to talk to? They said, a guy named Dan Johnson just became president. I said, Dan Johnson, I know that. So Dan Johnson was the guy I met in 1989 at a convention in Las Vegas at a book expo, and he became the president of Thomas Nelson. How's the Tiny Star doing? I said, well, actually, I told him the story about with Thomas with Checkerboard Press. He goes, I'd love to publish your book, and so he introduced me that day as Tommy Nelson's Children's Book Division newest author, and book did really well. They translated it into Spanish, La Pequeña Estrella. Selling 30,000 copies. I started doing nationwide book signings all over the country, sellouts. And then, something bad happened again. Dan Johnson, the president, bet on The Prince of Egypt. He was really big into animating things. So he animated The Prince of Egypt, which cost millions and millions of dollars, competing with Disney and all the other major studios. It didn't do well. I think he wound up losing his job.
Yeah.
Just kind of disappeared. One day, Dan Johnson was gone. No sign of him. Laura Minshew from Word Inc. became the new president. Interesting thing. And this is me speaking. I don't know for sure, but Laura Minshew probably wouldn't have published the book because she actually kind of put the kibosh on the book, in my opinion only. She said, "Oh, sales are slowing. We're not going to publish the book anymore." I thought it was kind of peculiar because sales, for me, record-breaking books. I was signing 450 copies at a single book signing. I mean, the book was flying off the shelves. Didn't make sense to me. After 10 years, I was raising kids. We had the Great Recession, 2008. Finally said, "Look, I really would like the rights back." She says, "Well, we're thinking about republishing the book or reprinting the book." Long story short, I finally did get the rights back in like 2017, 2018. I decided to jump on a bus to go up to New York City, one of those mega buses, $39.
Yeah.
Last minute, went into the book expo, and I didn't even register. Just literally walked in, right past the guards. Guess I looked pretty authoritative.
Oh my goodness.
I pitched 7 publishers. They all said, "I really like your story. We're really interested in publishing it." One of the publishers, Jason Schneider at the Word Skyhorse, said, "I love your books. I want to publish them. And if you're interested, let me know." I said, "Yeah, a bird in hand is worth more than two in a bush." So I said, "Absolutely, let's get to work on it." And what I did learn is that Thomas Nelson actually lost the plates for the book. So we had to scan the books, which may have been why the books weren't being printed. Maybe they lost them. I'm not sure. I've got to look into that. But it doesn't really matter because the books are out. They weren't, sales were great. When they were re-released, they were #1 and #2 on Amazon. Number one, #2 new releases in the Christian children's fiction category.
That's big.
So which is where Thomas Nelson was. Thomas Nelson was children's Christian publisher.
Yeah.
So the books have done well, and they were, I think, both of them got, I sent you some info, number 9, number 11 on the children's bestseller list. So they're in the top 20. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. So it's tough for an author to publish, and publishers to promote new books. I did do some book signings. I've done 3 or 4 book signings, all of them sold out, and just reaffirmed the fact that people love the book. I mean, if you Google the tiny star or even the tiny snowflake, you'll see dozens of people reading the book saying, "Hey, this is my favorite Christmas story. This is my favorite tiny snowflakes, one of my favorite books." And they talk about the big messages, and I think the reason the books do well is they do appeal to not just children 2 to 7. I think people of all ages go, "This is a really cute story. It moves me. It does something to me. It makes me feel good. It's inspirational. It's motivational." I mean, I typically sign books for 2 to 7-year-olds, sometimes 10, but I do, people come up to me and say, "My son is 18, just graduated from college, and my daughter's 21. She's going through some things. I think this book would be, can you sign it there?" Yeah. So, keep shining. You're special. So the big messages are there.
Well, this is a book that has been on a 38-year, tour, so to speak, which is pretty phenomenal. There's very few books that last that long and have that longevity and can move from one publisher to another and to continue to sell books. To me, that was the impressive part, reading about your particular story. And it's no surprise to me after speaking or listening to you for about 10 or 15 minutes that you are a sales executive, because you have me convinced that I want to buy the book right now. And I'm sure there's other people out there that when they hear your story, especially children's authors, because a lot of them listen to this, and they hear you walking into an office, walking down the hall, and just going in there and pitch. Very few people have that ability, I'm going to say courage, to do that. Is that something you had? Is that in your DNA?
Yeah, that's in my DNA. And I think that's, the next step really is getting the book published was easy. Selling the book has always been easy. There have always been challenges, and I do believe I understand why there are those challenges. But that's what this book is about: overcoming the obstacles. I mean, starlet falls out of the sky, which is the worst thing that happened to a star, right? Lands on the roof of a little stable.
Right.
It's over, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she's toast. It's over. It's the worst thing that happened to a star. But then she hears a baby cry. She, well, maybe I can shine for the baby. You got to keep trying. I mean, that's the inspiration. And then, of course, having the baby reach up and touch her is miraculous in itself. And I think that people need in the Christmas, you need that magic. That's some Christmas magic, miracle. And she rises back. As one minister who attended one of my book signings goes, the tiny star parallels the life of Jesus in some ways. So I'm going to do a little sermon on it. So I think there's a lot of runway for the tiny star. My next thing now is really to get it animated into a 30-minute animated television show. And then after that's become successful, it makes a name for itself. And I think it'll be more Starlet, the tiny star, than just the tiny star. We go to a full-length animated feature with Starlet, Flicker. It's a story about the power of love. It's got Starlet and Flicker. You've got an evil villain, Dark Star. You've got a whole cast of characters. So it's got the Disney. In fact, the guys at Disney, there's a senior Disney animator said, "I love this story. I really like to publish it, but I need $20 million." So what I've learned is that what I need now is to find the $20 million. I need executive producers, people who have money, who believe in the story, and go, "Oh, I see what you're doing with Starlet and Flicker, Dark Star, and there's Rock Star, Starface, Twinkle Toes. I mean, there's Movie Star, there's, Hip Star, there's Pop Star, there's all these stars, Movie Star, Sports Star, And so all these, what I've created is I call it the celebrity avatar star. So you'll see the celebrity, recognize the celebrity, it'll be an avatar of that celebrity, and it'll be a star. So this has never been done. So it's never been done before. And then we're going to bring the stars to life using all the backgrounds and images from the Hubble Space Telescope, taking the best stories of the Bible from the beginning to the end. So in the end, there's an apocalyptic battle with Flicker and Dark Star, where Flicker's love for Starlight proves to be more powerful than all the evil powers Dark Star possesses. There's a big implosion. Flicker heroically comes out of the black hole implosion, and Starlight and Flicker are reunited. And what I like to say is it's basically the Little Mermaid, only it takes place instead of taking place under the sea, Stars takes place in the heavens above.
So you mentioned animation. Now that's of course is like you have to really pitch and everything like that. And I'm sure your sales skills will be put to the test for that. Who do you actually go to for a particular? So I assume this is a faith-based film, the way it sounds, or perhaps you go somewhere else with it.
It is faith-based, but I'm actually moving more to the center because I like to say, one of the reasons I actually wanted to get away from being just a Christian publisher is I like to say I write books for all of God's children, not just Christians.
Right.
I write, everybody, all ages, doesn't matter. One of the things I get out of book signings is the expressions people get. So I can see that this book appeals to a large audience, larger than the 2 to 7. But I think the animation piece is I've got a whole game plan. So I've got to get my little brochure so people see what I see. Do you see what I see? A star, right. And it's really going to be a great star. It's the greatest story about the greatest star the world's ever seen, the Star of Bethlehem.
Exactly. Yeah.
And no one's done. I mean, there are a couple out there, but they just don't hit the mark.
Right.
I mean, if you Google the tiny star, you'll see a bunch of other tiny stars that pop up, and it's like,
yeah, I do. Yeah, I was doing that today.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, tiny star's got some magic to it, and I just need to spend some time. I just really haven't spent the time promoting it the way I should. The pandemic has slowed me down. I got a real job.
I was going to say, you're doing a bunch of different things, so it's not like your time is being saturated by one thing or the other.
I need to be a little more disciplined, and I need to get that stars thing done. The stars thing is pretty much done. I need to, and of course, I got a review from Rick Naw from Dancing Pen Books, which I saw online, and he called it the crown jewel of children's books, which I thought was very nice. Being called the crown jewel of children's books, and it was a glowing review, and I really beautiful review, and it included some really great illustrations, and the way he presented it was wonderful. So I've got to get more reviews. I've got to get out to the key people. I do see the Kelly Clarksons and the Mariah Careys and the others. I am looking for a female star to become Starling. And as you know, was it Jimmy Durante and Burl Ives and anybody who's in a Christmas special is going to be remembered year after year at Christmas time.
That's a key, yeah.
When you think of White Christmas, these are people who are long gone. Their careers are well over. Their movies and their songs are no longer really being played on, commercial radio and TV, but you see them every year at Christmas time. So my question is, who wouldn't want to be the greatest star the world has ever seen at Christmas time, year after year?
It's a fabulous idea. And I would assume that there'd be some celebrity out there that would want to be in that brand. That's what it is. It's about branding. They would brand themselves as the star for all Christmases now and to come and beyond after they are gone from here. Sure. So as you said, Burl Ives, right?
I think that star is out there. I just need to. I got to send the book out. I also have to have my little mailer that explains where I'm going, what we're talking about here today, in a very concise bullet point, and they'll get it. I mean, it's you either get it or you don't. You either like it or you don't. Everybody seems to like it. That's the other thing. I think the book signings encourage me to say, look, I'm pitching this to everybody. Everybody likes it. I just need to get it in front of the right people.
Right. Now,
do you have my long list of right people?
Right. Yeah. As you mentioned, the pandemic slowed down a lot of people. For 2022, are you planning a lot of book signings, and have you scheduled any that people can possibly go to?
Yeah, and a lot of the books, like when I do these book signings, these store managers go, "Wow, that was one of the best book signings we've ever seen. We'd love to have you back." Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I'll be doing. I'm going to stay geographic. I'm Washington D.C. based, plenty of Barnes and Nobles here, and so I'll do the whole Mid-Atlantic. So I'll do Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, New York,
right?
The Mid-Atlantic area probably next year, and then as I have more time on my schedule, I can do more. I also write. I do see, we have the tiny star, the tiny snowflake. I really need to get the tiny flower, the tiny butterfly, the tiny turtle, tiny sparrow out. Those are 4 more books I need to get published so that I have something to do year round when I retire.
I was going to say, you plan on retiring? Because when you're an author, you never retire. That's the thing.
No, I mean, for me, it's a hobby. It's fun. It's very, you don't make a whole bunch of money as an author. If you get a big hit,
well, not compared to a sales executive. No, they don't make a lot of money. No, not at all. Very few authors make money.
I do see kids making it in the 30-minute animated feature. We do introduce Starlet more and Brander as a treetop ornament. So we could see a treetop ornament. We'll definitely see a Christmas ornament. There's a lot of commercial merchandising that can be done. I do see a Starlet cookie cutter definitely as part of the story, that they're making cookies, and then we make a Starlet cookie, and so kids will make Starlet cookies, and then we'll have a actually is a Starlet cookie cutter. It's special. It's got a little extra thing, so the tail flips, the top flips. So there's a whole game plan. I just haven't executed it well yet.
Well, as you said, you got a full-time job too, so yeah, you're doing that as well. Now it says that your website's under construction.
Yeah.
So,
I got to do that this week. That's something else I need to do today. I need to be disciplined and just write that.
Okay. All right. Well,
got to get the content to these guys. I've been bad. That was
okay. Well, this podcast won't come out until the end of January, so maybe your website will be up and ready. Is that possible?
Yeah, it'll be up and ready by then. No, it's on my things to do list for like today, tomorrow, this week before I go back to work.
All right. So we're going to give the URL because it's likely that this is going to be up by the time this airs. It's it's www.artginolfi.com. Right, and we're going to spell the name ARTGIN as in Nancy OLFI.com. So go there and see all these little stories: the tiny star, the tiny snowflake, and I guess you said 4 more books coming, right? In the next.
Yeah, I think the tiny flowers next. It's about patience, and tiny turtles about sticking your neck out and fear.
Oh, Good. I love that
Tiny Turtle's a
idea.
good one. The Tiny Sparrow is about how, sparrow is a very ordinary bird and how it's special. So my books really deal with how the significance of our lives, regardless of how insignificant we sometimes feel.
All right. Well, congratulations on this incredible journey, which started on December 10th, 1983, when you woke up at 1 a.m. Oh, I love this story. Turned on a light, grabbed a pen, a legal pad, sat down and began to write The Tiny Star. And The Tiny Star is still a bestseller. It is a perfect Christmas time story. And that's 38 years later that this book continues to be a bestseller. And you went through so many different publishers, so many different, I guess, stops and starts.
Yeah.
So I think that's in your DNA. It sounds like you could sell anything. You could sell the pen. You could sell the pen. Right? That movie when the guy stands up, Leo DiCaprio. Yep. He says, "Sell me this pen." We use that in sales training. Yeah. Well, as I say, dream. I write as I inscribe in the book: dream, believe, persist, and you will shine. So I do believe the Tiny Star is destined to shine. The books are loved. The Tiny Snowflake is people love that too. I sometimes underestimate how much people love it, but it actually sells just as well as the Tiny Star. And I inscribe You Are Special, and that's a great story too. I think all my stories are simple, short, and sweet, and have powerful messages. And I try to inspire people to, Well, you're reaching people's hearts, and that's the most thing. I always tell people if they're going to write a book, write it with passion. Yeah. Because you want to reach people on an emotional level. That's really what it comes down to. It. People want to be inspired in some way, shape, or form, and your books do that. So congratulations again, Art Ginolfi. And if you want to get to his website, again, ArtGinolfi.com, and look for The Tiny Star, The Tiny Snowflake, and many more tiny stories. The Tiny Flower, right? That's the next one we should look for.
I think that's next.
Yeah, do you have an idea? Yeah, you have an idea when? Gonna be a good one. Yeah, do you have an idea? Have you set yourself a publishing date that you want to do it, or?
I think the game plan is really get the Tiny Star and the Tiny Snowflake going. And, once this pandemic is over, I can get out and do that more, and people start meeting more face to face. There's a lot of fear of, going into bookstores and going into malls. But I've got a whole marketing game plan for this year that I need to execute. Give me a year or two.
All right. And I'm sure you're going to be successful at it because you kept the book successful since 1983. That's a rarity. So congratulations. I mean, to me, the amazing part is that you've had so many stops and starts, and it continues to be a bestseller. So that says something for you as well as the story itself. It's everlasting. Much like Burl Ives, right? Much like Burl Ives. Yeah,
destined to shine year after year at Christmas time.
All right. Well, Art, thank you again for joining us from Magical Books for Kids. You can hear this interview as well as all interviews free on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and our website, Magic Everywhere INC. Art, thank you again for joining us here on Magical Books for Kids.
Thank you for listening to Magical Books for Kids, a podcast sponsored by Magic Everywhere INC, a company based in Florida, hosted by Michael John Sullivan. This is your place to hear the very best children's stories and an opportunity to get to know your favorite authors. Join us for another fun storytelling podcast next week.